Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is for all of the surgeons out there. We have beef. We're gonna fight. I'm gonna fight all of you. So as a professional piercer, I do a lot of body piercings for folks who have had all sorts of various surgeries done. In fact, I would say that surgically altered or modified tissue and body piercings is kind of a specialization of mine. You kind of can't work in basically Miami for 5 years and not get really good at working on surgically altered tissue. And without fail, I see the most wild misinformation about body piercings and just a fundamental misunderstanding of how body piercings work come from surgeons left and right. And I truly just don't understand how this misinformation can be so prevalent. But what is frustrating to me as a body piercer is how often I have to disappoint clients and break clients' hearts because their surgeon told them one thing and now I'm here to tell them something else. So surgeons, let's talk about all of this misinformation you have been spreading. And if you are someone who has gotten surgery, will be getting it, may need it in the future, this video is also for you. Because PSA, a lot of the information you are getting from your surgeon may just be blatantly inaccurate. So the biggest example of this that I can think of is earlobe reconstruction. And this is becoming a more and more popular procedure for people to get done. And with good reason. A lot of folks end up with like earlobe piercings that are too low, or especially lobe piercings that tear and split over time from wearing heavy earrings. And we all know that I have beef as well with earring manufacturers who make super heavy earrings on the world's thinnest, tiniest little ear hooks. It's just unacceptable. But they've been doing it for a very long time, and we have generations of people now who have torn and split and damaged earlobes from it. So I think it's amazing that we have the technology and that medicine has come up with a great method for reconstructing torn and damaged earlobes and giving people the hope of being able to wear earrings again and just have nice, healthy, balanced lobes once more. Now the problem is when folks do an earlobe reconstruction, they typically slice the earlobe apart, stitch it back together, and then that has to heal. And most patients' goal, especially if we're just reconstructing like torn standard lobes, or even folks who get their stretched ears closed and reconstructed, most folks are going to want to pierce their ears again and just wear like simple, classic, traditional earrings. And that's fine, and that's doable. And I have done some beautiful lobe piercings on reconstructed ears. But what I don't understand is the surgeons who are out here telling their patients that they can get their ear re-pierced 1 month after their reconstruction. This is not a new issue. I have had surgeons giving clients unbelievably unrealistic short time frames for years now that I've been doing this. But 1 month is just so wild and so incomprehensible to me. Like 1 month after most surgeries that involve a major incision with sutures, you are still not even supposed to get like unprotected sun exposure on your incision site because just UV rays and the sun can cause too much damage to the healing tissue. There's so much documentation of people who still have limited range of mobility and massive amounts of healing going on around incision sites after just 1 month. Like there are folks who are not cleared to go back to lifting anything over 10 pounds after top surgery and C-sections and tummy tucks because of the scarring and the incision site healing. I can tell you from my own surgical experiences that after 1 month, most of my scars from surgery, even minor scars like from laparoscopic surgery, were still dark, hyperpigmented, discolored, dense, rubbery. They were not soft, healthy, stable scars, nor would they be. It usually takes anywhere from 6 months to a year for real scar tissue maturation to occur. And once that occurs, then folks are getting back to their normal activities and behaviors. Then folks are stretching their arms up after top surgery and doing yoga after a C-section. And then it's safe for us to start thinking about re-piercing those areas. But at 1 month, if I re-pierce your ear and you've had an earlobe reconstruction, the risk of you just snagging that earring the wrong way and it splitting your ear right back open is so immensely high. Also, the risk of it just growing right back into that old channel already because that scar is not fully healed and not fully matured is also incredibly high. And I have seen people re-tear their ear open from getting pierced too soon after an earlobe reconstruction. I see it all of the time. I would not touch a reconstructed earlobe until 1 year post-op because I see way too many issues when people are pierced sooner than this. And it's mind-boggling to me because I will talk to surgeons about this. I will have clients ask me questions and I'll reach out and email their surgeon and they will look me in the eye and say, oh yeah, they can have it re-pierced after a month, but they shouldn't go in any bodies of water yet. It's not healed enough. They shouldn't go out in the sun without a hat or sunscreen on their earlobes because it's not healed enough. And they should probably still be putting ointment and cream. There might even be some sutures that still need to dissolve in a month, but you're good to pierce them. Why? Why? And I see the same thing. I have clients coming in who are like, oh yeah, I had a tummy tuck 6 months ago. I have a completely reconstructed navel. My doctor said I'm fine to get it pierced now. Oh, I had breast implants put in 2 months ago. I'm fine to get them pierced now. And then I am Mr. Bad Guy when I tell these clients, hey, this is still too soon. Like, I'm not even going to consider doing piercings for you until you're at least 1 year post-op. And even then, it's not a guarantee. I'm going to assess the tissue, and if it's healthy and stable for me to pierce, then we can pierce it. But if it's not, or if there's still stuff going on with that scar, I'm gonna tell you to wait more. When I had my tubal scalpendectomy, when I was sterilized, one of my incision sites, I had like a suture stuck in the scar tissue that was just like having a really hard time of it for probably almost 2 years, about 1.5 years. I mean, that scar was still very dense. It was very hard. I would get like weird pimples on it where I could see like the bit of suture left over was like trying to push itself out of my skin but couldn't and having a hard time. And finally, like close to the 2-year mark, one morning I woke up and like popped a pimple on that scar and a big piece of suture came out. And after that it was fine, and like 2 or 3 months later it settled down, the hyperpigmentation went away, it softened up and turned into this like light, like white/pale pink scar on my hip. But like imagine if that was in your nipple or in your belly button or in your earlobe that you've had reconstructed surgically and we did a piercing there. Not only could it just lead to the piercing failing or having a hard time, I mean, there are documented cases of, again, folks re-splitting their earlobe back open after a reconstruction. I have known clients who have lost their breast implants over an incorrectly done piercing too soon after surgery. I know people who have gotten top surgery and lost their nipple graft, complete rejection of the graft over a piercing done improperly. One of my coworkers nearly lost one of his nipple grafts over a piercing being done improperly and probably a little too soon with his recovery. So I really wish, instead of giving people like concrete timelines or promises of, oh, you can get this piercing, you can do this exactly this length of time after surgery, I wish surgeons were a little bit more cautious and were like, hey, first of all, longer time frames in general. I say 1 year minimum post any kind of surgical procedure before we think about re-piercing in the area. It's a case-by-case basis. So for surgeons to say, hey, somewhere around the 1 year mark is likely that you can get a piercing again or do this, but it will depend on how your body heals. Some people are going to heal better and faster than others. Some people are not. So you have to pay attention and see how your body heals. If anything, use this as motivation to follow better aftercare. Make sure you're taking care of your scars after surgery. Make sure you're doing scar care and treatments and follow-up. Make sure you're being careful with things like sun exposure. But instead of having these realistic and honest conversations, I feel like surgeons just throw out wild numbers. And what's the most frustrating is when I talk to these surgeons, especially like when I've talked to the doctors and surgeons who've been doing my own work, or even when I've gone like on consultations for top surgery and asked them these questions and pointed out why I felt like some of their information was incorrect, most of the time they go, you know, I guess I never thought about it like that, but piercings are a healing wound. I guess I will tell people to wait a little bit longer. Thanks for that. I literally did a consultation with a doctor when I was looking into top surgery, and I was asking him about piercings, and I didn't specifically ask about nipple piercings for grafts, but I guess he assumed that that would be my next question. He was like, oh yeah, and I would say probably about 6 months after surgery you can get your nipples re-pierced. And I was like, 6 months? Aren't I still doing graft care at 6 months? And he was like, well, yeah. It's like, aren't my grafts still like majorly maturing at 6 months? Couldn't they still technically like fail and have problems? And he was like, oh my God, yeah, well, you still, like, you want to be staying out of the sun. You still want to be putting on topical ointment. We'll be doing follow-ups with you on your grafts for the full first year. And I was like, why then would I literally stab it with a needle and put jewelry in it and try and make it heal that when new blood flow to the graft isn't even fully established at 6 months? And that was the moment where he went, oh, yeah, I guess it is a wound. I guess that's not a safe suggestion for me to make. In the most cavalier and casual manner you could imagine. And you know, I get it. I'm not trying to pretend that piercing is on the same level as being a doctor or being a surgeon or these procedures that they're doing. I don't think it is. But I would just love to see it get treated with a little bit more respect, especially because at the end of the day, it's patients who are given very unrealistic expectations, and it's piercers that end up either having to crush someone's hopes, or a lot of piercers out there who don't care and will just say yes and take someone's money and say, well, if your doctor said it's okay, and then I see those people come back with problems, and then those people seek me out for help. And a lot of times the news that I have to give them is not good. So if you are planning any kind of surgical procedure, or if you have had or will have surgical procedures that can affect your body piercings, please, if there's one piece of advice I can give you, it's that it's patience. It takes your body a long time and a lot of effort to properly heal and recover from surgery, and there is absolutely no rush to try and just run out and go and get piercings as soon as your surgery is done. Please give your body, and especially the surgical site, plenty of time to heal and be safe and healthy before we think about doing new piercings in that tissue. Again, 1 year minimum before we should be touching or messing with surgically altered skin. And to the surgeons out there, let's work together, you know? Let's collaborate. I would love to see more accurate information about body piercings out there somewhere. And I would just love to see clients and patients not have to end up back up in your room, back on your table, because they got a piercing too soon and messed up your good surgical results. And I'd like to think you want the same thing too. All right, folks, thanks so much for hanging out, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.